I hope you enjoyed your lunch break. And now we will start our next panel. So please take your seats. We are jumping straight into afternoon talk, crafting the future of luxury. Let's be honest, luxury isn't about the product anymore. It's about unforgettable experience that make you say, I want to be a part of this. This session explores how an absolute icon of French legacy heritage are teaming up with the hyper-creative retail developers of the Golfe to completely rewrite the rules of the high-end shopping. Please welcome our panelists and our moderator for this panel, Mr. Jonathan Thibuni from Luxury Insights.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. It's better to take the applause at the beginning because I don't know how this is going to go, but I'm sure with the amazing panelists that we have, we're going to have a lot of fun. So, it's a great pleasure to be with all of you. And as I'm starting, I'd like to make an opening question to each of you, because we are very, again, lucky and honored to have all of you, about your vision of luxury and what do you think we should keep in mind while we are having this discussion today. Maybe you can start, Emily, if you feel like.
No worries. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us. Yes, luxury definitely is, I think, in the middle of a complete different world. We used to know the luxury in Europe, definitely in the US, going to Asia, and I mean, there is really now a momentum in the Middle East and in the Gulf specifically that is happening. There is different type of luxury, definitely, but there is something that we share as French way to see luxury in the Gulf specifically is everything that concerns know-how, well-done products, and specifically the product of the handmaids. So I think craftsmanship and luxury know-how is definitely something that we share with the Middle East, with the Gulf, and I think we are coming on a new journey when talking about luxury in the Middle East.
And talking about craftsmanship, maybe Florence, you want to add something about your brand and what you do with the region or your relation to the Middle East.
Yes, thank you. I think I can add connection, and because yes, we luxury for us, and I think luxury in between France and the Gulf is all about connection, bridges. Shared experiences, and I think what we have is this French expertise and the Gulf ambition and these amazing stories and connection that we can put together.
Thank you. I'd like to hear your thoughts as well about the region, because I know you've been working with the region for a long time, and what's your vision about luxury?
The Middle East used to preserve the luxury as a product all the time. We used to be thought as a market to sell the products, where the Middle East is emerging, especially in the Gulf region now, moved from being a market to become a laboratory for innovation of the luxury transformation, from being a sold product to become a kind of an experience, and changing and transforming into something more like a lifestyle and ecosystem. This is a unique identity for the GCC, given not only the capital and much more the endurance of the GCC and the heritage and the craftsmanship from France that's creating this unique identity in the GCC.
Talking about experience, I think Aura Group is developing amazing experiences locally, so I'd like to hear you as well on your feeling about this vision of luxury for the region or the future of luxury that you foresee.
Yes, first of all, thank you. As Aura Group, from our hospitality perspective, the evolution that we've done in the market is starting from homegrown brand into moving to luxury brands, into developing franchises from all over the world. If I will take the model that we developed there playing the role of catalyseur, which is a necessity to play between the savoir-faire, the French savoir-faire, if I'll take this as an example, and the bringing such brands to an ambitious market, open market, and nowadays everybody is traveling. We're not talking about a market which is really doesn't know. They are well educated about food. They are well educated about, and they can criticize anything else. So we need to make sure wherever ideas that we're bringing from France, from Europe, to be translated properly well, taking into consideration, into customizing, trying to understand the culture of the market. We have to localize it, we have to customize it, and we need to personalize every single step we're doing in the market in order to succeed.
Mr. Mourani, if I may, people just talked about people traveling, but sometimes they also need to go home. So you're the one making the most beautiful homes around. So what's your vision about what's happening in the region?
The region is evolving in a way that is going beyond the normal, importing the product itself. So it's more into creating experiences, taking it into a dimension, a very high dimension, where it combines different type of luxury product and experience at the same time. So the services are at the ultimate elite level, and combined with the design, with the, let's say, customization of the design that treats the concerns of the local market in the GCC. So a lot of privacy that needs to be there, but at the same time, you need to provide them with the concierge service, the 5-star finish of the product, all together to create a new element that will take it to the level of expectations of the clientele over there.
Thank you so much. So we've talked about clientele, and we are lucky to have one of the best experts of clientele worldwide, Pierre-François. I'm sorry, I will need to take a little bit of your brain and time to ask you about the clientele in the Middle East. What do you feel, consumers, changes?
Yes, there are many changes, and it's a very good thing for sure. As you know, Nelly Rodi is a creative and creative strategy consulting company based in Paris, but we work everywhere in the world, and we've been interviewing quite a lot of VICs in the regions, and there are many changes at the moment. As Emily pointed out when she opened the talk today, the rules of luxury desirability are really changing at the moment. And visibility, prestige are no longer enough to convince the consumer, who now expect to be moved and to feel very deeply a connection with the products and with the brands. So the different ways to do it are quite new for many of the brands. Craftsmanship, as you mentioned, Emily, is absolutely key. It's a proof of value for many of them. It's a proof that it makes the difference with premium brands. It makes the difference with many kinds of other products, and the consumers are really keen to understand much better how the products are made, where the quality comes from, who is doing the product, which are the savoir-faire, the expertise which is into the product. There is definitely a price fatigue also among some customers, many customers in the region. So it's also a way to prove the quality of the product, to invest into this craftsmanship. The other thing which is important regarding emotional connection is also that the region is as you all know, absolutely fabulous in terms of communities. There are many communities that are linked together, and it's very important to have a cultural resonance when now you want to have a success in the region. Understanding the communities, the rules of those communities, proving the cultural relevance of the products and the brands you sell, not only with big marronniers, we say in French, big things that we all know about the region, but really showing some more insights, true connection, and true, how to say, very subtle,
Subtle.
Yes, thank you. It's very important to show this connection. There's also a growing demand for transparency and brand accountability. It is also linked to the craftsmanship interest that I pointed out right before. It's very important to understand where the product comes from, how it was made, which are the different steps, where the materials come from, also where they were transformed, and which how the changes were made and how the products were made. So that's also something very important. But definitely, if I want to point out something, it's really the communities is now one of the new luxury drivers, and the cultural relevance is absolutely key.
So talking about communities, I like this idea of tribe and human connection. Emily, you among the many responsibilities that you have, you're also leading the French touch in the region. What do you see is particular with this relation to human relationship in the Middle East? We all feel it's a region and people that are deeply human, right? So the relation to the brands has to be stronger, the knowledge and various cultures, plural, also is important. What do you feel about this idea of community and that we need to take into account working with the region?
First of all, because I'm 100% French, I'm allowed to say that. But the problem with French is that we are well known to be full of ourselves, which means that we are sure that in football and luxury we are the best in the world.
Don't talk too much about football, huh?
We definitely can be challenged. Listen, I'm going to be very transparent with you. I spent 25 years in the luxury sector, specifically in France. I was lucky enough to drive one of the most beautiful luxury silverware company for more than 5 years. And this company called Créateurs was owned by Chaloup Group, which is very well known in the Middle East. So I was lucky enough to have one foot in France, in the know-how, in the plant, in the Normandy, you know. So craftsmanship was definitely my right hand, but my left hand was reporting to a Syrian group family based in Dubai for more than 70 years. And so I think that now I can say that there is only one mistake that French people in luxury often do. They think that they can come into Middle East and in Gulf region knowing everything for the luxury, which is not true. And this is really something that French people, specifically in the luxury market, and we were talking about this morning when preparing this panel, I think that we, as French people in the luxury sector, needs to be much more humble when going to Golfe, because the Golfe customers are very well educated when talking about luxury, very well educated in what they like and what they don't like, and we can't make them trust that French are the best in the luxury, because they are sometimes, but not always. And I think that what is the most important if you want to succeed in the Gulf region is to be much more humble in the way you approach the Gulf customers, because they most of the times know luxury much better than us. So I think it's also really important to be humble now, specifically in this period. And to attract the market, as you said this morning, and I completely agree with you, in a way that we need to personalize more, we need to approach the culture, keeping the specificities of the product 100%, but also adapt the way we communicate to the Gulf and to the Arab communities, because there is a lot to learn, specifically when talking about Eid period, for example, or to talk about retail activation during the Eid period. You know, there is so many things that we have to learn, and French people have to learn a lot and not to think that they know everything, because it's not true.
Well, I still heard very good news, because you said there's only one mistake French people do, so it's okay. But I would like to hear you.
One that I know.
No, you know much more than that. But thanks to be polite for the people hosting us. So, yes, I'd like to hear you on that idea, and maybe share an example of, you know, a French brand or a group expanding into the region, and how maybe you worked with them on changing a little bit the habits to better suit to the local knowledge.
Exactly. As I said at the beginning, any brand that comes to the market should understand probably the culture, should understand the consumer behavior, which is a necessity. Luxury is there, luxury is here and there, but if you need to provide the same service, the same experience, which we call it. For me, when you talk about luxury, you're talking about a journey. I'm not talking about a product at all. Okay, a recipe is a recipe. I come eat it here or I come eat it there. For us, every customer in hospitality in the GCC wants to be treated as a king. What makes it different is the approach. From calling and having the booking. Let me take an example, LPM, which is La Petite Maison. La Petite Maison started in Nice with a small restaurant. Give a good example of a French brand that came to the GCC. We can always say La Petite Maison, okay? It's a most disciplined brand that came with a consistency, with a good product, but they adapted a lot to the local market in terms of culture. People in the GCC, they come to dine late. La Petite Maison Bible and SOP says seating 1 at 6, seating 2 at 8. So by the time you say 8, 9 people, they go out. So they had to adjust in their SOPs and handbooks in order to accommodate and be successful. First year, it was a losing business. Today, it's one of the super shining brands and profitable business in our portfolio. So we should be very understanding to the local market. We should know the culture. We should know how to personalize and customize and try to understand the consumer behavior. And trust me, success is the result.
I love that definition. Maybe for Petrus as well, you'd like to share your relation with people or consumers in the region, or how you had to adapt to some of their cultures or desires.
Yes, because Petrus is a petite maison as well. It's not la petite maison, but it's a petite maison that has the immense privilege to have a beautiful connection with the Louvre, Abu Dhabi, and we are starting to understand the region and the Gulf culture through this museum that celebrates the link between centuries, cultures, artwork. It's all about connecting history, people, and this is the way we work, because we have at Petrus the privilege. We are a petite maison, a 30-year-old company with big ambition, like I think the Gulf countries. But yes, we like to be humble, as Emily said. I like this idea. And yes, maybe the way we like to do it for now is to learn from through art, actually, and through bridges, because we also build bridges.
So we talked about La Petite Maison, which means the little house, and we have the privilege to have someone here who builds and designs and think a lot of little and big houses. So I'd like to hear you maybe on your biggest challenge or the biggest idea to keep in mind when expanding into the region for people who know more or less the needs, the expectations. We talked about craftsmanship, so probably there's a level of sophistication or demand or expectation, I would say, for material quality. And it's not something that we all know, because not everyone knows the region so well. So I would be happy to hear you on these thoughts of how to succeed in the region.
Yeah, correct. On our level, we develop many cities. So a mixed-use developments that will consist of different type of real estate products, residential, commercial, retail, healthcare, education. So a combination of different type of properties. And we deal with many international brands from all levels. It is the same story everywhere. So brands, when they come and they want to just contribute by bringing their product and implementing it as it is. So I think we all agree on the necessity of understanding the market prior to stepping into any market. And the GCC particularly is a very sophisticated, at the same time, simple market. So you need to understand, you need to read between the lines, and you need to cater to the needs of the consumer over there. So our biggest challenge is mainly related to reaching out to these brands, giving them the ideas and the small details, explaining to them the small details of that needs to be catered to make sure that the final product and the final item that we will provide to the customers actually meet the heritage of the brand, the luxurious element of the brand, and at the same time meets all the demands and the requirements of the consumer. So with all these diversion of different, let's say, products, it's a big challenge, and but it's an art, and it's really a pleasure to be part of.
Thank you so much. Going further into this idea, we've talked about food and beverage, hospitality. Retail is a key thing as well, and is a key place of challenge. I'd be happy to hear you again on how maybe retail or brands evolve in the region, or what do you think we should keep in mind when looking at how brands sell products or experience and or together, or the way you see it.
I think in Onyx, we got the opportunity to work with governments, brands, developers, investors, and this is a chance that even with my business partner, Gail, who's here, we got the chance to work with luxury brands, with retailers and retailers. So we're looking at the luxury from a 360 perspective. When it comes to the GCC, we have an opportunity and a challenge. A challenge is more like a risk, but an opportunity of a growth, of expansion, of generation, of integration in new market. It's becoming risks of not being there on the right time. And this is a dialogue that has been before when the internet emerged and coming to online, coming now to where things moved from owning a luxury product, where the brands realized that the final clients needs more than just a product; they need an experience. So they emerged with the lifestyle hospitality. They emerged into something like a pop-ups and some hospitality projects. But now the clients are needing more, especially in the GCC. We are seeing an emerging momentum where lifestyle ecosystems are created as a chance for all the brands to come in. And from our dialogue with the French brands, I'm not going to name any, but there is kind of resistance.
You have to name. You have to name the worst ones.
We are the best. We done it always right. We don't think we're losing anything if we done it our way. And I agree with everyone here on the panel. It's a momentum. Talking about also the AI transformation. We've been talking with some brands about the AI integration. In Onyx, we created, for example, last few years, a video for this session as an example. It took us lots of hours for production, lots of people. At this time, it took us few moments, let's say, a couple of hours, and no man, it's AI generated, top of the range. I advise you to watch it. And this is how things are emerging really fast. So if you're not there on the right time, yes, you're the best, you've done it always right, but other brands are jumping in. So we're talking about branded residences, a branded ecosystem, destinations that being created as a lab. And the best opportunity is to test. Where to test is the GCC market, especially what you see now with the emerging projects in Dubai.
Okay, I think French people have taken a lot of hits in this roundtable. Thank you so much. Pierre-François, please come and help save our country. What do you feel is a potential or things we could do in the region, or some trends you see with consumers?
Yes.
Whatever you have in mind.
Whatever I have in mind, my God. No, something very important you mentioned are also the experiences to develop, and the social element, the networking, social experiences are absolutely key to develop the cultural resonance I was also pointing out right before. Culture is really about learning from one another, and it's very important to develop this link between the communities I mentioned also. So it's not only selling a product, it's also developing a whole ecosystem with pop-ups, with experiences, with whatever, but something which shows that you perfectly understand the rules of the region. And I'm not sure the French brands always do it, you know. Sometimes they develop a product, but they also repeat some local codes we know for ages. And what we know from the interviews we did with all those V.I.Es is that they are really completely tired of those repeated codes from one brand to another, from 1 year to another, corresponding to a very specific calendar. For sure, as you mentioned, it's very important to understand and to develop specific offers and experiences corresponding with this local calendar, but they need surprise. They also need something new, they need fresh air, they need new generations, so there are many ways to show it. Linking, doing collabs with local artists, for instance, young artists can be a way to do it. But always, remember those local people need more surprise than ever, more craftsmanship than ever, and more social networking than ever.
I'm jumping on a little bit this idea that you're sharing here with the idea that brands have a long history, they have a strong heritage, they have decades, if not hundreds of years of life that they need to work on, and tradition is key also to survive in the future. But at the same time, of course, you need to keep this kind of unique global image very strong, but make some adaptation to local consumers. If you adapt too much, then you lose your identity. But if you adapt nothing, then you lose your customers. So this balance is a very hard one to find. I'm hesitant to ask you, Emily, because I think you're going to criticize French again. But somehow I can't help myself but to ask you this question. What do you think is the right balance in trying to explain the story of the brand, but finding a good maybe interpreter, which is someone who understands the story but knows who he has to talk to and find the right way to express the story, not just to translate, but again, to interpret. Who is doing it right? Not brands, but what's the way to do it right? If there's anything French people do right, huh? I'm not sure, but what's your thoughts on that?
I think it's not a question of which brand or which company do it right. I think it's much more, in my opinion, if there is enough maturity in the company to be able to understand that now the product is not enough, unfortunately. I think now it's really about experience. This is really definitely something that completely changed the game. When I used to study in HEC when I was a kid or young teenager, we used to learn at HEC that you have to have the right product and the right opening on the market, and then it works. So you learn the market and the product launch. So you need a storytelling and you need a marketing. If you have a good commercial team and a good marketing, then the product will work. Today, it's not enough. Today, you need also to entertain your customer on an experience that is definitely the game changer. We have several examples of amazing luxury brands, talking about the French one, that have great product, great storytelling, great go-to-market. And it doesn't work. Sometimes do not work. I think we share that a lot, specifically with Nelly Rodi and with you, Pierre-François. We are on the same path for that. Experience is definitely what is the game changer. So what we need now is to entertain our customer in our retail, because if you just open a huge, sublime department store flagship, it will not be enough. And we see with the turnover of specifically all the department store that are a lot suffering from the business model that is completely have to be renewed, that it's not enough. So experience is really important. I took the responsibility a few months ago of Auditoire, which is an events company that most of you know, that for example, did the Jeux Olympiques in Paris, but are also the ones that do all the events for Cartier, Richemont Group globally. So Van Cleef & Arpels, Christophe, obviously, but also Vuitton, Dior, Chanel, Prada, whatever. What I see with numbers, because now since 6 months, I'm driving the global Middle East region for Auditoire, I can see that there is a difference in between a brand that invests a lot into events and experience to the customer locally, with the culture, appropriate culture respect and personalization, compared to brands that just come with a store, with a good product and a good brand strategy. It does not work, because the customer, and specifically in JDCC, but same for France, if they don't experience the product, they don't buy it, and the community comes with it. We have the amazing example of Jacquemus, for example, which we can be fashion or can be, but Jacquemus at the beginning is a community of people. It's an experience as an art in the retail, and it works. When other very, very beautiful luxury brands, that I will not give the name now, do nothing to entertain inside the store and now are losing a lot of money. So my point is, French Touch, that I'm very proud to represent in the Middle East now, is about this. We need, as luxury sector, definitely to completely change our mindset in the way that we present the product to the consumer, because if not, we're going to die. And it's not a critique of French people. It's specifically a critique of luxury in a global way. We need to understand that now communication is going so fast with all the réseaux sociaux and networks that we have. If you don't entertain your customer with happiness and excellence, so they can taste your experience, hospitality, product, real estate, whatever, you are going to die.
Thank you for this very lovely
Pleasure.
and bright note. Talking about experience and happiness, I like these two ideas. I would like to hear again. Sorry to bother you, keep bothering you, but that's why I'm here, right? So, can you give some ideas about things, because you see so many, places, so many experiences, so many evenings, so many restaurants, some moments where you feel this experience brought happiness, and or an example of something when you thought, oh, this is a job worth doing because this is a cool moment. This is really happiness and something that works. Do you have a few ideas or moments, or I wouldn't say success, because it's not about success. It's just about something that works and comes from logic to magic somehow, right? That you've experienced in the region.
Again, if you believe that it's a journey, then you succeed. If you believe it's a transaction and it's a product that you're selling, I promise you fail. Today, in hospitality, it's never food. Food without mood, it will never work. It's the combination, food and mood, this is who's sustaining. And this variance between one place to another. We create a lot of ideas to make sure that really the same menu that we are developing, the same menu that we are offering to our clientele is still sexy for them. They are still demanding the same menu. They are still looking at the same product. What makes the difference is the journey, which starts from the entry, which today with the AI, we're doing the face recognition. So whenever you arrive to the hostess, welcome, Mr. Zain. Okay, I feel like I'm the king of the place today. What did I do? It's a very simple action that we did it. We welcome our guest by his name, and he knows that I'm the king of the place, while everybody is treated the same. But we make you feel that you are the king for tonight. So those are those plus things that we will take care about. Okay, we pay attention for those small details. We make it the difference. Luxury is an open lab. It's an open lab. It's not like saying, okay, yes, those are the SOPs that, okay, I'm the brand, I bring you the SOPs, it's the Bible, you have to follow up. Not at all. This is something that should be, it will be evoluted more and more every day. Every day you need to understand consumer behavior. You understand culture. Like even our kids, are you talking to your kids 20 years ago the way you talk to them today? Definitely not. Everybody is educated. Everybody, they compare, they criticize. We make sure that we read their mind before they talk. We make sure we understand what they want before they will ask for it. This is how we succeed. Otherwise, as I said, +1 vote, we fail.
Okay, good food and good mood. I think it's a good way forward. Talking about, I think I'm hearing something here which is about making people feel special, right? And wherever you come from in the world, you can be in China, in Japan, or in the Middle East, or in the region, they have to feel special because somehow, when they're lucky enough to go to our stores or our restaurants or our buildings, they want to feel special. They're not going there to buy water and go home and sleep, right? What would you say is the way you approach this idea of making people feel special, no matter which brands you work with or which designer or architect or building? Is that something that you also feel is at the core of the way you approach your work, to make people feel unique, special, engaged, understood?
Definitely.
I wouldn't expect you would say, no, I don't care, but...
We are all aligned, I think, on the idea, but how you do that, and especially when you are, talking in mass on a scale of a city, it cannot be customized to that level.
Yes.
I think in retail and in F&B, it should be to a certain level, but for us, it's more into the habits, the heritage, the traditions. You need to understand these things which are related to the consumers, plus you need to understand their needs and how they approach luxury. What's luxury for them? How you define it, how they define it. Is it the same way that, let's say, Cheval Blanc define their customer in Paris or in anywhere in the world? Or is there a twist, or they need to upgrade to a certain type of services and so on? So these small elements make big difference. So it's customization, but without losing the brand identity and the brand heritage. In addition, I think we need to monitor. We don't do this exercise one time, and this is an ongoing thing. You need to keep your eyes open, your ears open. You need to hear, you need to see what's happening around you, because the market tastes shifts with time. There are new habits, new trends that are taking the customer and the clientele into different directions. So you should always stay alert. You should always pay attention to what's happening without losing your identity. Make the changes where you need to make, and look to the ultimate goal that you want to achieve.
Thank you so much. Again, to that direction, what's the best advice you would give to a brand or partner coming to you tomorrow and say, I would like to expand in the region, I would like to discover where to go and so on? What would be the first thing that you would tell them? Maybe be patient, or travel with me, go there. What's the approach or the mistakes we should avoid when engaging in the region? What would be your best advice as a starting point?
I think my colleagues already mentioned the fact that the brands sometimes are not being humble, being driven by their success in the past, and trying to emphasize their identity from France to Middle East. What I would advise is just to explore and be open-minded. Sometimes we might have a structure issue inside the brand, that we don't have a department to look after this kind of innovation or this kind of expansion. But exploring the idea, just studying the idea in an open mind, forgetting what we've done in France, and trying to be more eager and explore the idea from a perspective of the market. This could create a huge opportunity for the brand, not to realize only transaction, but also to create new experiences that could be applied elsewhere, not only in the GCC, but could be applied in the Far East and other emerging markets.
And Emily, you recently, I don't know, I don't want to break any confidentiality clause, but you recently moved from France to the region, so you have this both angle, right? And what do you feel living there now, also as a consumer, if I may, because you live there, so you have a different way to engage, right? What do you feel is the biggest change that you feel, or something where you say, wow, I understand better now people here, because I'm, living that 24/7, and the biggest thing we should keep in mind while engaging with the local region?
So this is something that I didn't tell so much, but yes, I'm very happy and proud.
I hope it's not going to have fiscal consequence for you or anything.
I hope not, honestly.
I hope not. Okay. I'll give you my lawyer's number.
No, please. First of all, it's a story of love, because I didn't know the GCC and the Gulf region when I took Christophe when I was 36 years old. Now that I'm 42, I was lucky enough to spend a week per month in the region, specifically in Dubai, in Riyadh, in Doha, Qatar. And I just fall in love with the region, like really deeply, because I just noticed the quality of life there, the amazing, generous way of hospitality, which is deeply cultural. So this is one of the first points. The most important differences that I face, and I'm very transparent on that, I find in Dubai something that I saw in New York 25 years ago. It's the dynamism of the everything possible. Honestly, I moved my kids, my family in September. Let's be honest, it was not an easy year. It was quite a challenge to enter Dubai and the region with what was happening during this year. But even with this difficult year that we all faced living in Dubai, I can tell you that I have no regrets, and I will never come back for one reason that is really important, is the dynamism, the professional dynamism. I was amazed by the energy, the yes we can, and the way that people work together with no clue, no ego. When in France, business is difficult, people don't want anymore, don't have any positive mindset sometimes, and I'm sorry to say, and this is something that I don't miss, and I'm very happy to be in such a dynamism economy that everything is possible. And
Please
there is a new word.
the microphone. It's okay. We understood.
Yeah.
We have. No, I'm just kidding.
There is a new word in Dubai.
Tell me.
Recently, since a week, I think it was from the DET, Dubai Economy and Tourism. I think it was Issam Kazim, one of the Minister of Economy and Tourism. He said, "Dubai it." And you know what? This, I think for the ones that are in the region, you know what I mean. Dubai it is definitely something that, if you know, you know. Come to Dubai, stay in France if you can. I'm very happy to be here. I'm still French and I will always stay French. I have a lot of business here. I do a lot of very good business in France and I will always do. But please, make and stay humble, looking what is doing in the Gulf region, because definitely future is there.
Pierre-François, please. I need you.
My dear Amélie.
I know he agrees with me, so I have no.
It's fine, you can agree. Huh?
It's Fashion Week next week in Paris, okay?
That's the point.
So we're going to have
days.
amazing experiences, amazing, beautiful products here for sure. And it's going to be one more time amazing. But yes, it's very true that the dynamism is in the Gulf, and we know that the Gulf the region has given so much to the French luxury brands, and it has really helped us also improve our experiences, improve our products, and it's very true that the dynamism is something absolutely positive. But I'm sorry, I'm also representing the French brands as president of the French Fashion Union. And I'm sure that we are all very open to the Gulf for sure, but I'm sure that the French are doing their best for sure to emphasize all the craftsmanship they have, all the energy they have. We still have a lot of improvement for sure to make, but we're here and it's going to be Fashion Week and it's going to be amazing here.
Thank you, Pierre-François. Quite honestly, I think it would be very hard to finish on a more positive note than this one. So I think I would like to thank you, all of you, and thank you for the panelists for this amazing time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I don't think it's a competition.
Thank you very much for all panelists for this very exciting conversation. And please bear with us for our last panel and the most interesting discussion about culture and soft power. This session explores how media diplomacy, museum collaboration, and heritage preservation serve as profound engines for tourism, talent, and national branding. It's all about the shared creativity builds the deepest economic bonds. To lead this inspiring concluding track, please welcome our moderator, Richard Burns, Editor-in-Chief of SAFE, and the panelists for this last panel.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. It's the last one of the day, so everybody's a little bit restless, I can see, you know. So I'm just going to do a little introduction, and then I'll introduce our members of this last roundtable. Now, we're talking about power. When we think of power, we often think about military strength, economic influence, or political authority. But some of the most powerful forces in the world are neither military nor economic. They're found in our stories, our heritage, in our creativity, in our media, and in our ability to inspire others. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we call soft power. Culture shapes how nations are perceived. It influences where people choose to travel, invest, study, work, and build partnerships. In today's interconnected world, culture has become a strategic asset, helping countries project their identity and values far beyond their borders. And perhaps nowhere is this more evident than in the relationship between France and the Gulf countries. Well, before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge the presence this year at Vision Golf of Her Royal Highness Princess Noor bint Faisal Al Saud, who joined many of us during last night's reception. Through her work in the fields of fashion, design, creativity, and cultural entrepreneurship, she's become one of the leading voices of a new generation that's helping shape Saudi Arabia's cultural future. Another outstanding example of this bridge building is Afalula, and they really need to be mentioned here today. Their work has helped transform Alula into one of the world's most ambitious cultural cooperation projects. Today, culture extends far beyond museums and heritage sites. It encompasses tourism, media, creative industries, immersive experiences, major events, and digital storytelling. It creates jobs, it attracts talent, strengthens international partnership, and contributes to economic diversification. This afternoon, in this final session, we'll be exploring how culture serves as a source of influence, how it contributes to economic growth, and how Franco-Gulf partnerships are helping to shape a new era of cultural diplomacy and creative cooperation. To help us do that, we are joined by an exceptional panel representing media, tourism, museums, creative industries, technology, and international cultural cooperation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, to begin with, Nabil Bouhajra, the director for Maghreb Orient of TV5 Monde. Nabil his activities cross the Maghreb and Middle East, overseeing French language broadcasters, television channels, digital platforms, and audience development in one of the network's most strategically important regions. Ladies and gentlemen, please now welcome Mohammed Al Ayed, the Vice Chairman of Atta Festival and CEO of Trax. Adam Ouboui, the Chief Executive Officer of Atout France. Christophe Piet, the Directeur Général of Novelty. Jacques Maire, President of Cofrex. Jacques. Jacques, a former French diplomat, civil servant and member of the French National Assembly, very important and very, very grateful to have you with us today. And finally, but not least, Samuel Tayeb, the Secretary General of France Museums. Samuel. Ladies and gentlemen, firstly, I'd like to get you just in a couple of minutes to very briefly explain what your organizations do, so we know a little bit about a bit more about you. Perhaps Nabil, you could begin with a little bit more about what you're doing with TV5 Monde.
First of all, I want to thank you all, and I will start in French if you mind.
That's okay.
Okay. Alors, je m'appelle Nabil Bouajra, je travaille à TV5 Monde où je dirige la partie Maghreb-Orient. TV5 Monde est un média multilatéral qui appartient à 5 pays, la France, le Canada, la Belgique, la Suisse et Monaco, qui est reçu dans 430 millions de foyers dans le monde et qui a pour but la promotion de la culture et de la francophonie. Et moi, dans le cadre de mes fonctions, j'essaye de mener à bien cette mission dans les pays de la région sur laquelle j'opère.
Mohammed Al-Ayed, Vice Chairman of Attar Festival. You've got 2 hats on, Mohammed.
Good afternoon, everybody. Again, thank you so much, and great to be with the esteemed panelists. So I'll do 2 minutes because my story is 34 years old, so we don't have time to do it in. So what I'll talk about is, so my first hat is Trax. Trax is a public relations consultancy agency that was set up 28 years ago, and we operate across the MENA region. And I think today our focus is going to be something else that we'll talk about in a bit, which is Attar Festival, which is the Saudi Festival of Creativity. It was launched in 2023, and it's being positioned now as a global festival to bring creativity from outside of Saudi Arabia and the region to the world.
Thank you. Adam, Chief Executive Officer of Atout France, since last year, in fact.
It's 9 months old, like a pregnancy. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for organizing and inviting me. Atout France is the public entity, so it's a government entity, owned entity that has the mission to promote France as a destination. We do it abroad. We work on, of course, touristic data. We work closely with culture, festivals, cinema, and events. And we also have the mission to give the classification of hotels. So we are the ones who say you're a palace, you're a 1-star, etc. So that gives us quite an edge. And I was fortunate enough to have a previous life, so both investment banking background and government background, and I was fortunate enough to work a bit in the region.
Christophe Piet, Director General of Novelty.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about what your company does.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very proud to be there with the panel. Groupe Novelty is a French-based company. It has been founded from something like 40 years ago. It's a technical firm which is working with AV technical solution. Try to be not too technical, but like Emily discussed earlier on about experience, we are the enablers of the experience. We are the guy and the ladies working behind the scenes to make the light, the sounds, and the video.
We'll be talking a bit more about that afterwards as well. Jacques Mer, President of Coffrex. Coffrex, la compagnie française des expositions, very important company as well.
Very small company, but we produce blockbusters, so that makes a difference. The blockbuster is France, in fact. So what do we do? First, we are storyteller. We imagine an experience. I heard a lot about experience just before. Experience for the French experience, deeply rooted in the culture of France and the hosting country, like Riyadh 2030. And we build out architecture, scenography, communication, programmation, based on the same idea and experience. Secondly, we produce the casting with big companies, SMEs, public institutions, private institutions, in order to have a French team which is able, I would say, to create a community reaching out in Expo and beyond. And lastly, we run the show every day, 12 hours a day, during 6 months, for VIP visits, welcoming customers, around 3,000 every hour. Events, communications. 8 people during preparation phase, more than 200 during the expo.
Incredible. Samuel Taeb, General Secretary of France Museums, again, but with a focus on the Middle East.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for the invitation and to this great panel. So France Museum is a bit of an odd duck in the French landscape. We are a private company that is publicly owned, and our shareholders and our board are comprised of the biggest French museums in the landscape, Louvre, Orsay, Château de Versailles, and so on and so forth. And we were created about 20 years ago through the political will of the French government and the UAE government for the very purpose of conceiving, creating, building, and preparing the management for the Louvre Abu Dhabi. Louvre Abu Dhabi is still our main client today, but we use now our experience to provide other institutions with the expertise that we have gained through this unique endeavor, because Louvre Abu Dhabi, as you all know, is now one of the top museums in the world, recognized as such everywhere, and we are willing to provide those services to other museums, private and public institutions in the Gulf and also elsewhere in the world.
Great. Now, the questions. I'm going to ask a question that'll be basically anyone who wants to answer it can answer it. But when we talk about soft power today, because the theme of this panel is culture with soft power, are we still talking primarily about culture, or are we really talking about influence, storytelling, and economic competitiveness? Is there a difference? Who'd like to take that one?
I think it's a bit of everything. For example, if you want to create an experience, you have now to use technologies, capacities, and the question is how to make it memorable. So if you give a purpose for technology, if you use it at the service of the experience, then the narrative becomes more and more strong. And in our view, what is important for France in terms of message is to be different. I would like just to give an example. I think everybody remembers the introduction ceremony for Paris Olympic Games. It was different, it was universal, it was a bit provocative, it was very well done. It was not super expensive, but it was a kind of, it has a big impact. So for us, we have to build on our strengths, which is innovation, differentiation. We dare, in fact. And the fact to be able to dare is, I think, a big element of the French power.
And of course, with that, you need the infrastructure too. We were talking about the novelty, it's not something that's simple to do. You said it's not that expensive, but it's not that simple either. Is that correct to say? Yeah.
If you take and I would like to expand on what Jacques Maire has said. Culture is not just about places or institutions. Culture is about language. Culture is about a way of being. Culture is about literature, philosophy, cinema, and that's how France has built over centuries this uniqueness. And I tend to agree. So it's very difficult to create a known culture as part of your soft power. You can have money, you can have ambition, but you need to have this specific culture. And culture gives you, when you talk about the attractiveness of a destination, you mentioned it, it gives you a desire to come to a place rather than another. It gives you the power to say that your place cannot be replicated elsewhere. You can replicate infrastructures in the world, you can replicate household services, but you cannot replicate culture. And the soft power of France, and maybe we can, is very much built and based on this culture. And I believe many countries here today have or are successfully building such a soft power.
Any other points of view?
Yeah, we can discuss about economic if you want to. If you want to provide and deliver those events, we have also to be located in locally. So we have 3 locations at the moment. So we have 2 warehouses, 40 people, and we are working something like a couple of hundred freelancers. So we need to be there in the country and to invest is thousands of €k of equipment, which is based locally.
Okay, Mohammed, you were going to say something.
Yes, first of all, I agree with my colleagues, but I want to start off with a quote from a very famous French historian and philosopher by the name of Michel de Montaigne, and he said, La culture, c'est ce qui subside qu'on a tout oublié. So it means everything remains is culture after everything's forgotten. So to add to what my colleagues said, I'll create an analogy. So I like things to be simple. A nation is, the power of a nation is built over different things. So for example, if you look at the Golfe, we have petrochemicals, we have minerals, etc. But I also believe that culture is wealth. So the wealth of a nation is also by its culture, right? And I will add something to that because something very close to my heart is creativity. So if culture is wealth, creativity is a currency. Just makes it simple.
Je veux juste ajouter quelque chose. Moi, je ne peux pas parler de diplomatie culturelle ou de culture sans citer son Excellence Zaki Nusseibeh aux Émirats Arabes Unis, qui a compris que la culture, enfin, tous les pays ont une culture. Ça serait un peu prétentieux de dire qu'il n'y a que certains pays qui ont la culture et qui peuvent l'exporter. Tous les pays ont une culture. La question de soft power, c'est comment on l'exporte, comment on construit le narratif, comment on construit le storytelling. Moi, je prends l'exemple des États-Unis. Avant d'être chez TV5 Monde et bien avant, j'étais dans le cinéma, dans la distribution de films. On a le meilleur exemple de soft power qui est Hollywood. Comment on arrive à créer une histoire, et j'allais même dire comment on arrive à créer des ennemis. Il y avait un reportage, un documentaire qui s'appelle How Hollywood Allies Arabs. Comment dans les dessins animés des années 80-90, Disney a toujours transformé l'arabe en méchant. Donc c'est une histoire de storytelling. Le soft power dans la culture, c'est comment on utilise la culture de notre pays et qu'on arrive à raconter l'histoire, qu'elle soit audible et reçue dans tous les pays qui peuvent être, je veux dire, intéressants en termes d'influence pour nous, avec des échanges économiques, touristiques et bilatéraux. Donc c'est plus ce côté, moi, là, que je vois de soft power, comment on raconte l'histoire et à qui surtout.
Mohammed, you were talking about the cultural aspects of Saudi Arabia, where you're based, and I know you've been helping the local authorities in different regions to create experiences for incoming people, but also for the locals, because I think what's interesting in Saudi Arabia is that the Saudis are discovering their own culture, which a lot of them didn't know before. Al-Ula is a perfect example, because no one went there. And people are rediscovering Al-Balad, for example. How are you involved in those projects?
Again, just to add, we're talking a lot about storytelling, and I think there's one part of the storytelling that's super important before the storytelling is narrative. And I think over the past few years, especially with Vision 2030 and a lot of the development programs in other Gulf states, is that we have become better and more skilled and more committed to creating a narrative that we're telling ourselves locally and also to the world. So a destination is not a destination until it has a story. And I was telling Richard when we were preparing, and I said years ago, Saudis would, the destinations that they go to are literally created because of where they want to go for the summer. So if you want to go to Saint-Tropez, so we create a flight from Jeddah to Nice, or if you want to go to Spain, you do Barcelona. But recently, the narrative has changed whereby we want to do that, but also we want to create destinations where people come in from outside of Saudi to visit Saudi. This is where Saudi wants to hit 300 million visitors by 2030. Preserving culture, preserving the sites. So you used examples of Al-Ula, fantastic, and there's a lot of events there. Al-Balad, which is the downtown in Jeddah, but also you have Dir'iyah, which is the birthplace of the Saudi monarchy in Riyadh. So there's a lot of those. And the thing is that Saudi has yet to discover more sites. I mean, people think Saudi is Jeddah, Riyadh, Dammam, but it's much bigger than that. So I think the idea is to wrap it around is, in addition to having a storytelling technique, an effective storytelling technique is you have to have narrative. You have to know what to say. And I think this is becoming much, much more important from a government, from a local perspective. To just add finally something that we're all doing today, and I've been attending all the sessions, is we claim that culture is very important and it's timeless, but the bridge is very important. And I think we're all here today. France Golfe is doing it perfectly. We're creating bridges of understanding, of culture, of a lot of things. So I think creating the bridges are very important to create the best storytelling techniques and the narrative.
Nabil, that you were talking, so we were talking about storytelling and getting the message across. But I know when we were talking prior to this, you were also saying how important it is to not only have the right message, but have the right channels. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oui, on en parlait lors de la préparation. Beaucoup de pays, de régions ont beaucoup de choses à raconter et le racontent très bien, mais on arrive de la création de l'histoire, du narratif, du spot, de la pub, de la campagne, et au final, le média choisi n'est pas souvent le bon, parce qu'il s'adresse à une cible qui n'est pas forcément sensible à cette région du monde. Donc c'est vrai que moi en tout cas, ça m'arrive souvent en tant que binational franco-marocain et aussi à TV5 Monde de voir que certains médias sont choisis, mais les États ou les agences ont mal été conseillés parce que voilà, on leur a fait croire que telle chaîne avait plus d'audience, mais bon, forcément cette audience n'est pas celle qui va prendre un billet pour Jeddah ou Riyad, ou alors si c'est pour y aller, c'est pour revenir et critiquer.
Let's talk about culture as an economic driver. For many years, culture was viewed as just a public expenditure. Has it now become an economic investment capable of generating growth, jobs, and international influence? We were talking about that as well. How does culture generate economic growth?
That one to start. The world's #1 destination in terms of foreign visitors in the world is France. We've had 102 million last year visitors, and at France we of course study the very reasons why people want to come to France, and 80% of the visitors, foreign visitors to France, they say culture is an important part. So if you take tourism as roughly 8% of the GDP and roughly 3 million jobs, you have the beginning of an answer. But we can replicate this through, it's something to perhaps to do the bridge between the two questions is, we have centuries of narrative preparation. You take Versailles. Versailles was not thought initially as a museum. It was thought as a showcase of technology, how you bring the Seine waters 40 meters up, how France and the monarchy was actually at the edge of the technology, of the arts at the time. The Eiffel Tower was the same. It was a showcase of the excellence of France. And the Olympics in 2024 in Paris showed a completely new economic model because it was profitable, a completely sustainable model, but also it created a lot of opportunities, not only directly, but it completely changed the real estate, for instance, dynamics in the northeast of Paris. So. And I haven't mentioned the cinema, and I haven't mentioned the creative industries in which France is also a leading country. So we know that by mirror with many countries in the region, culture in France is still very much driven by public policies, by the state. And this gives a long-lasting commitment. This gives continuity. And this is, I think, a very strong common point we have between France and the Gulf countries, where actually our ties are excellent diplomatically, but that we have a consistent policy to push this narrative and to push culture as a priority and as an economic driver.
I think the sustainability is an important point as well. So we will come back to that. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that culture is a kind of legacy for France, which has a high level of visibility in the senior generations. And the issue that we are confronted to is the transmission to the new generations. And when you look at the basis of the fundamental in French culture, being painting, music, monuments, and so on and so forth, they are not the kind of cultural product that young generation used to consume in a classical way. They are on their phones, they are used to experiences online, or collective experiences. And so the challenge and the issue for us is how to reach to them in order to transfer them this kind of collective wealth. It's a big topic for us, as an example, in World Expos, because the young generation doesn't go spontaneously in World Expos. You have to be physically present. You don't know what you are going to see. You have to pay a certain amount of money. And so the way we think it has to be addressed, it's also a part of the answer to your question about channels. For example, when we propose an experience where the fundamentals of the content are based on universal values and, I would say, French cultural heritage and local heritage, each tableau, each part has to be Instagrammable. And that's what happened, in fact, in Osaka and to a certain extent in other experiences. Then the interpretation of what we propose is not given by us. I mean, the mediation doesn't come from us. It comes from the people online, influencers and all who are interested. And we see that the multiplication of the visibility of French culture, of French experience, is by millions. We become viral. And it's possible because we've got the power of that, we've got the content for that, but then we have to think about how to make it viral for the new generation.
Give us some facts and figures about Expo Osaka. What was the real impact of that event?
Okay, altogether there were 29 million visitors for the Expo in Osaka. We proposed a specific experience based on love. So the theme of the pavilion is love. Love is we don't have the monopoly of love. You said everybody has culture, everybody has love, but I think France as a brand has a specific thing to say. Not arrogant way where my love is the true love and your love is not the case, but kind of comprehensive love. The impact of this theme and the content was huge. We reached something like 4,700,000 visitors. We hosted 3,200 official delegations, 18 a day, including 23 royal families. We had something like 600,000 visitors online. And the impact in terms of media, I'm talking only about mainstream media, was 64 million euros. So it means roughly 2 times what the money was invested from the government. So it can be a leverage, a very big leverage. And last point, I think this has to be a business which doesn't make, I would say, put in danger the public finances. We made an excess of 5 million euros because of this success.
Nabil.
Je voulais juste rajouter un chiffre. Les industries culturelles créatives, c'est-à-dire le monde de la culture, contribuent cette année en France à hauteur de 5% du PIB, c'est-à-dire pratiquement plus que l'industrie automobile. Donc il y a un modèle économique, il y a du business autour du monde culturel. Et je voulais juste rajouter une chose, j'ai pas bien présenté TV5 Monde tout à l'heure, désolé. On a également 8 chaînes thématiques, dont une qui s'appelle TV5 Monde Style, qui est dédiée à l'art de vivre, au patrimoine à la francophone dans le monde. Et dans certaines régions, comme le Moyen-Orient, à certaines périodes de l'année, la chaîne Style dépasse en audience TV5 Monde normal. Parce qu'en fait, il y a une vraie appétence, il y a un vrai intérêt. Juste un exemple concret du soft power à la française. Nous étions partenaires du V.I.E à Riyad et nous avions un studio et j'étais là-bas en représentation et on me dit qu'une personne veut absolument me rencontrer. Donc je vois des soldats qui arrivent. J'ai tous pensé au pire. Peut-être la rédaction TV5 a dû faire un sujet qui parlait mal de l'Arabie Saoudite. Peut-être qu'on venait me tirer les oreilles. Et pas du tout en fait. C'était une princesse saoudienne, son Altesse, qui était venue me voir, qui voulait me remercier personnellement parce que c'est grâce à TV5 Monde qu'elle a appris à parler le français. Parce que nous étions sous-titrés en arabe. C'est là où j'ai compris le vrai terme, le vrai pouvoir de soft power, la langue française et comment elle est véhiculée. Et ensuite, comment elle va être traitée dans les négociations plus tard. Parce que ces personnes-là, ces leaders advocacy, vont être amenés à discuter des contrats, des choses avec des grandes entités françaises comme la France Museum, comme la Cofrect. Donc si à la base, on arrive à transmettre ce soft power par la langue, on est gagnant.
Maybe just a word about the drive for economic growth through culture. Speaking specifically about museums, it will surprise no one to say that museums are usually hardly profitable by themselves. But I think we need to pay heed and homage to the leadership of the UAE 30 years ago, imagining where there was only sand, what could be a worldwide cultural hub, and seeing museums as magnets for economy, for investments, and anyone who has set foot on Saadiyat Island today with half a dozen of world-class museums and cultural institutions knows that the return on investment, although indirect, is absolutely real and tangible. And maybe to connect with the question of soft power, I wanted to add that the the initial program for the Louvre Abu Dhabi was, and the initial ask for the Emirati authorities was to make a replica of the Louvre in Paris. And it was quickly realized that this would fail, that making an outpost and graft it in the UAE would mean nothing. And so it was completely overhauled. And we realized that the top-down way of approaching projects, that is often something that French people are criticized for, needed to be completely overhauled. So we changed the way we approached it to maybe act with what we would consider the softest power of them all, although not the least potent, which is to meet each other, meaning see what we have in common, also recognize each other, and then work together, not as giver and receiver, but as co-building something together and building a joint expertise that we gained along the way.
Okay, Adam, you wanted to mention something.
On culture and soft power, it's of course legacy is extremely important. And when I go abroad, people tell me, in one word, can you summarize France as a destination? And I have two words. It's not Paris, it's not Marseille, it's not Montaigne. We have two words. We have excellence, excellence of the savoir-vivre, of the language, of the gastronomy, of everything. But excellence, what I'd like to say is it showcases France as a country of the past, which we are not. We're a country of science. We're a country that even we mentioned, the Olympics, we mentioned the Eiffel Tower, we mentioned Versailles, how at that time each of them were actually groundbreaking. The best example I have is last December in LA. The studio that got the best video game prize was a studio of 19 people in Montpellier working without AI, and they were competing against companies such as Electronic Arts with 1.6 billion in R&D. And so this made me think, when I was a young investment banker, I worked for BNP Paribas, and we advised the government of the United Arab Emirates on which museum actually should come. And that was precisely the ability to say, because there was a lot of competition. It was not actually, the Louvre was not leading at the beginning. And we said, well, basically, this very traditional, this very global, recognizable ID, French identity, is also very modern. And this is why we've had the opportunity to showcase the Louvre in Abu Dhabi.
What lessons can France and Gulf countries then learn from one another? Because, I mean, we're talking about, and I know we were talking about the fact that having worked in Abu Dhabi for a number of years, now you realize that we should be doing things differently. What lessons can we learn from one another?
Well, I've onboarded dozens of people in my company. We're a small company, about 40 people, most of them French, but not all. And we are based both in Paris and in Abu Dhabi. And what I realized is that French people, and everyone actually, when they are put in a different environment, do not realize the baggage, the cultural baggage they bring with them. And I mean, how do you manage a meeting? Who is making the decision? Who is the person you need the approval of to make a project work? And we found the best way that actually know about yourself is to be confronted to another kind of environment. So the fact that we send our teams to work in Abu Dhabi with a multicultural staff of the Louvre Abu Dhabi and the Department of Culture and Tourism, we learn a lot about how we can process and how we can move forward the projects in a way that is not the same as we would in France, because meetings, time, who is the decider is not meant the same way there.
Okay, travelers, when they visit countries today, they're looking more for authentic experiences rather than just going and visiting monuments. How does this shift affect destination strategies?
It's interesting on the global scene. For France, for us to showcase France as a destination is a difficult job, because we have a whole legacy that we cannot say, okay, we start from the beginning. And sometimes I can be envious of other destinations that actually are just starting to develop their strategy and their image for building a brand. But what we see is that AI, digitalization, is standardizing a lot of destinations, and that's actually, and so culture becomes a real differentiator and authenticity. And it goes to that point where basically, if you think about it, you have a very strong segmentation. If you go to the luxury clientele, they don't go through IA. If you want to book your room in a palace, if you want to go to a private concert, if you don't book online. You deal with persons. You have someone, and you create a relationship. And so this authenticity is actually based on culture, on something you can replicate. You have a very strong demand for it. And if people feel that actually it comes with a real legacy, that it's aligned strongly with your values, that it's aligned strongly with the medias, with the way you convey it, it creates a huge, actually, it's a soft power. But that's very difficult to do. And for the rest, we see that basically IA, as I was mentioning, is commodizing the rest. Everything is automatic. You don't even think about it. Your mobile phone will decide for you where you will go next summer. And so, again, authenticity, people, if you say, for instance, I'm going to cook, let's take a different example because I'm hungry, I haven't had lunch, so I would. But if you think about what people really demand, is actually not only go to a place, but live an experience. And when you dig even further, is around the experience is living a culture. People come to France for living as a French, for literature, for food, for love, for wine, for everything. And this is what, and I'm seeing this, a lot of destinations are trying to imitate, and where there's potential.
Talking about the elephant in the room now, the current situation in the Gulf. We've had conflicts happening there for some time. France has particularly strong ties with countries in the Gulf, including Lebanon. How will cultural ties and exercises help heal the region after what's happening? Let's look into the future. And what do you think how can culture help with that?
Well, it's true that when you prepare Riyadh 2030, you are beyond certain elements like, I would say, pacification of the country, general elections here and there, and you have to engage business people and companies, investors in the long run. And what is very, I would say, very strong for the moment, and in our perception, is that really Saudi Arabia and the Gulf are an easy piece of cake in terms of selling a destination for investors. I mean, for us, when we say, okay, you will be part of an adventure, when you will get visibility in one of the two top priorities of the kingdom, I would say the issue for people is not, should I wait or not because things are not uncertain, but tell me when it happens and I will be among the first. So this is the moment of the discussion. It's not the moment of the promise. So we will see in a few months whether this intention is damaged or not by the current situation. My feeling is, okay, no, there is a potential, I would say, growth. There is a visibility of French culture here, but there is also a kind of trap, if I may say. The trap for France that wish we could be categorized as providers of cultural content, when our interest, when our relation is also based on infrastructure, energy, I would say security and so on. So for us, I would say let's use culture as a strong tool, as a strong element of connection, and I think that this is really, I mean, highly rewarded by any means. France Museum is a very clear example of that. But let's not be categorized. We are a country of innovation, and let's bring also to the experience something which shows the biodiversity of French economy.
Maybe to dig on that, I'll be very, very quick. I think culture can help to soften perception. So, of course, having cultural events, having an exhibition of Versailles in Doha or in Riyadh would be, of course, which would create, build. Work on cooperation with education, higher education. You have a lot of French world-famous institutions in SEAD, École Polytechnique, École des Mines. So continue to build on training and to show that actually this biodiversity of the French economy is shared. We are leading country in IA, for instance, and so it can be built on that. So soft perception build bridges between societies, and culture is very much at the heart of it, through education, as I mentioned, through cultures, through music, through creative industries. And the third one is, and I think I couldn't agree more with Jacques Maire, is I see and we see in Atout France culture and tourism as a way to work with public-private partnerships that go far beyond tourism and culture. It's a point of entry, it's a soft power, but it showcases you all the savoir-faire of the French industry. And maybe to take an example on tourism, as you were aware, the EU World Cup is taking place in Paris. And it's not by chance that it happens in Paris, it's because it's a long, fruitful relationship, and it shows that through culture, sports, we can innovate and show an entire segment of the new economy and show the savoir-faire français and share it with our partners.
Well, just to conclude, infrastructure is very important. Ultimately, soft power depends on people. How can France and Gulf countries collaborate to develop the next generation of creative talent? This is our final question.
Juste pour revenir sur la question sur l'éléphant dans la chambre. TV5 Monde, on est partenaire d'énormément d'événements dans la région et même au Liban. Et j'allais même dire que ça fait partie de la culture. Moi, j'ai découvert le peuple libanais dans sa résilience, malgré la guerre, malgré tout ce qui se passe. On continue à sponsoriser, on continue à être présent dans des événements culturels. On est partenaire de toutes les alliances françaises, instituts français, tous les événements culturels qui ont lieu en Arabie Saoudite, aux Émirats Arabes Unis. Et le message que nous passons, nous, à TV5 Monde, et que j'essaie, moi, de faire passer, c'est que c'est plus le Nord qui s'adresse au Sud. Mais on les écoute et on diffuse aussi des programmes venant de leur part et on va tourner chez eux des programmes culturels et touristiques et diplomatiques. Donc voilà, c'était ce que je voulais rajouter.
If I can link the talent education, next generation, and also innovation. Innovation in our field is something which is very key. It's the art of our experience. And what we are fortunate in France, we have a lot of small companies, not unicorns, but we discuss about now Stage, Acoustics, S-Mod, which are very innovative company that is going to help in terms of monitoring the show, going to release the creativity of the scenograph, and to do that we need some technician. And what is important for us is to transfer this expertise and to have some talents locally, which is able to run the show and not to take some expatriates. So it's something where we can make a fit on innovation, talents, transfer of knowledge.
Mohammed, in Saudi Arabia, of course, the youth is extremely well educated. They're really coming along very quickly. How do you see this new generation coming along in this sense?
Yes, I think yesterday the head of the council or the Federation of Chambers of Commerce said that 35 or 70% of the Saudi population under the age of 35. So this gives you a lot of power. That's another power. So I think my colleagues have said something very important is about growing these types of events and activities that will actually create that type of understanding. And I think it should be also a two-way street. So as much as we want to understand and learn a lot about the French culture, we want also the French to understand about our culture as well. Just a very quick example of how Saudi changes. So Saudi used to travel to go attend these big events and festivals, etc. And in 2023, we launched the Saudi Festival of Creativity. An instant hit, we've moved from 500 to 600 people, within 3 years to 3,000 people, of which 1,000 come from outside of Saudi. This is a private sector initiative that has been built to create and to celebrate Saudi creativity. Now, if I can just say one more comment, if I can just ask around the room, how many people who are not Arab speakers? If you can just raise your hand. Non-Arab speakers. Okay. So language is super important. I'm very, very fortunate and lucky that I've lived in France, I've studied in French university, I have a degree in French literatures, but I'm very few people that have understood the French culture. So something maybe to our colleagues from France Golfe is to actually create some kind of a program that actually teaches Arabic and French. Because you can only, if you live in a country, you're about 50-60% of understanding the culture. Imagine if you understand the language. And this will unlock everything. It will unlock business, it will unlock all the different things that my colleagues have spoken about. So, my last point is I will give a small lesson in Arabic. I believe, my opinion, is culture is heart. C'est le cœur. It cannot. It has to be heart. To speak about a culture, to explain the culture. So I'm going to give you an Arabic word for heart in Arabic. It's called qalb. J-A-L-B. So most probably everybody here will understand the word qalb, and they'll say it outside. So I've already made a bit of progress. Your first Arabic word is qalb. So culture is heart. Nothing else. Business comes after. It's about that whole feeling of connectivity. So thank you so much.
Mohammed and all our panel, thank you very much. And thanks for the audience for being so great. This has been a great session, and thank you very much again. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this very interesting conversation. Thank you. And now we come to the end of this 4th edition of Vision Golfe 2026. I would like to thank every one of you here in the room that stayed with us until the last moment of this edition. And also, I would like to thank the team of Business France for this great organization for this edition and the 3 editions before. And now I would like to invite Mr. Axel Barrault, Managing Director of Near Middle East for Business France.
Merci beaucoup. Well, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, as we come to the end of those 2 days of Vision Golfe 2026, allow me first to express my sincere gratitude to all of you in this very empty room. Thank you for being here. Thanks to our speakers who have shared their vision, their expertise and their ambition. Thanks to our institutional partners, to the Team France Export and to the Team France Invest networks. Thanks to our sponsors and private partners whose commitment make this event possible year after year. And most importantly, thanks to all of you, companies, investors, delegation, and experts, for your presence, your engagement, and your trust. Over the past 2 days, what we have witnessed is exactly what Vision Golfe stands for. We have seen dialogue at the highest level across a wide range of strategic sectors, from energy and infrastructure to healthcare, innovation, food security, and cultural industries. We have seen a partnership that delivers, not just ideas, but concrete projects, investment, and collaboration. And above all, we have seen a shared conviction that France-Gulf relationship is not only strong, it is accelerating, deepening, and transforming. In a global environment marked by uncertainty, volatility, unpredictability, this message matters because Vision Golfe sends a very clear signal, a signal of confidence in the region, signal of long-term commitment, signal of collective ambition to move forward together. And this is what makes this platform very unique. It's not only a forum, it's a catalyst of action, a builder of bridges, and an accelerator of partnership between France and the Gulf. Before concluding, allow me to express very personal thanks to my team, to the business front team. A team who have supported me in every sense of the word over the past 4 years, because this edition is very special for me, because it's the last edition of Vision Golf in my current role, as I will be leaving this position this summer to take a new professional challenge. And after several years serving the France Gulf partnerships and working alongside many of you, this moment is both emotional and deeply meaningful. I have had the privilege to witness, and in a very modest way, maybe to contribute to, the remarkable strengthening of ties between France and this region. And I'm particularly proud of what Vision Golf has become, a flagship platform, a trusted space for dialogue, and above all, a place where partnerships turn into reality. So I have no doubt that next year Vision Golf will come back even stronger. And so, see you all next year. And I will ask my team to come on the stage. We're working a lot in the shadow and backstage for so many times. Please come for the final photo.
Jingle for the picture, please.
Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Elle a
change de poste.
Attends, je prends avec... Je peux vous donner mon téléphone? Bien sûr. Reste-toi, et toi tu restes. Reste-toi. Ne bouge pas. Genre, non mais genre, la meuf direct. Vas-y, viens Thomas, viens.
Toi, tu bouges pas.
Tu
fais ce que je te dis.
Christelle, viens. Christelle, c'est pas Christelle. C'est moi. Mariam, c'est moi. Mimi. C'est bon, j'ai la crème de la crème.
Pense dans le cadre.